Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jason Knapp. I'm with WBNS TV here in Columbus. I'm part of the planning committee for the Ohio Broadcast Multimedia and Technology Conference, so we'd like to welcome you and thank you for staying around. We've had a slight little modification to the lineup. Lisa is a little under the weather. So we're going to be, this session is going to be titled Reverse Engineering Rich Media Creation for New Delivery Models, and it'll be presented by John Rutherford, who is a Senior Solutions Architect with Keycode Media. John has been working with all aspects of professional video for about 25 years. His experience spans digital image manipulation, graphic design, multimedia presentations, nonlinear video editing, 3D animation, advanced motion effects, and compositing, and more. John's customers have included Turner Studios, NASA, can we talk about the moon landing? Hasbro, MTV, the Pentagon Channel, Johns Hopkins University, as well as others. And he has published a number of papers and have been a contributing book writer on the topics. So they will today, John will provide an in-depth examination of the entire pipeline of creation through delivery for media content, targeting the next generation of audience that companies are trying to reach. And this session will also cover many of the technologies that content creators need to consider and understand. So without further, I will turn it over to John.
Thanks, Jason. So can everybody hear me okay? Do I need the mic up for the...
Yeah, we'll try to get the mic as we are recording.
Can I just do finger puppets? I have silenced my phone, so if anybody else hasn't, then you can just turn it down a little bit. We'll try and make this as quick and efficient as possible. I know your time is compressing here as we get towards the end of the day. I hope we fill you with some good information today. So as Jason said, the session today is reverse engineering. I took one word out, rich media. I just tried to make the title a little shorter. But the idea is everything's file-based now. How do you get from here to there? And so basically, here's our agenda. So I've boiled this down to be as efficient as possible. Obviously, there's just not enough time to go into the extreme details on every single one of these points. But most of you have handed out business cards to. Those who haven't, stick around for a little bit towards the end, and we'll make sure you get contact information. If you have any additional questions, feel free to follow up after the session today. All right? So, who is Keycode Media? Especially here in the Midwest, most people don't know who we are. Our headquarters is in Breakout, California. We work with all big studios over on that side of the country. We also have, as you can see from the map, 10 offices across the country. We just recently acquired another company called Burst Video out of Colorado, which has expanded not only our physical presence in some of the states and regions across the country, but also our staff. We're well over 30. I think we're probably closer to 40 engineers on staff now with the Burst acquisition. Again, covering the full gamut of production, post-production, deep archive, storage, asset management, all of that. The entire pipeline for media in a current production environment. So as I mentioned with our Burbank office, all the studios are obviously deeply invested in this type of technology, and we're at the forefront with all of those. And we can ripple that across the country depending on what the particular customer needs might be. So let's start with, this is reverse engineering, right? So let's start with the end. This is a little bit of a, rewinding kind of model here. Right? So not quite, I'm not going to put myself in that caliber, but along those lines. Let's start with where we're ending and figure out how to effectively get to that point and have the information not only delivered effectively, but also have information that potentially is going to come back into the system in order to track it and keep everybody on point with where things are at. So basic topics in this section, different types of social media, CDN versus the medium screen, and of course the other eyeballs. Social media, metrics. There's all sorts of stuff out there on the internet about how to track and make sure you leverage the kind of information in social media. That kind of information is relevant not only to whoever's watching that content, but ultimately to whoever is posting that content. You need some type of, circle back on some of this information. Case in point, how many hits are we getting? How many views are we getting? How long are people viewing that? That's information that as you work backwards will help you better define and refine the kind of content that you may be putting up on those portals, whatever they may be. So having a way to track all of that is critically important these days. This is essentially, as you're probably all aware, the Nielsen version for social media and Internet of Things. Part of that, of course, is knowing who your audience is and applying the appropriate metadata to that information as it's being posted up on whatever platform you may be looking to use. So understanding, again, where you're going, how you're going to get there, and then start working that backwards to make sure you have that information accordingly. Retrieving that critical metadata, that's the other side of the equation, right? You're putting metadata out there, why? Why do you want metadata on your assets going out into the cloud? So people can find it, right? People search. I want to see videos about. If you don't have metadata that addresses that, nobody's going to find it. Now, getting that kind of metadata back may be simply the kind of metrics that we're talking about here. It may even be more than that. There's tools out there that actually let you, through AI, keep track of some of this type of metadata, understanding that those tools are out there, and there's ways of leveraging that earlier in your process will make that process easier. We often talk to customers that are looking to work with, for instance, an asset management tool, or they just need to archive. What good does it do to archive it if you can't find it after it's been archived? And of course, the whole purpose of a media asset management system during production is to be able to keep track of that. We're going to touch on that more later on. But all of that metadata that's being generated throughout the process can be pushed up and ultimately retrieved back as well. Okay? Big discussions out there lately about CDNs. Everybody know what CDN is? One of these terms that nobody's aware of. So what's the difference between a public CDN and a private CDN? The easy button for most people is to use what's already out there. Use a public CDN. Whatever CDN you want. They all have a little bit of their sandboxing, but generally speaking, you can open that kind of content up. Going with a private CDN, particularly when you really want to control who your audience is, or specifically know who your audience is. For instance, in the case of education, it's very important for them to know when students log in to watch that particular content. It's an important, critical piece of information that the schools need to know that that student has watched that content. The only way to really do that is to have a private CDN that they have to log into. Obviously, also, in other cases, may restrict or control access to that content for copyright information and things like that. It's kind of internal content that you don't want to put on a public portal. You have a private CDN that takes care of that as well. And most of the private CDNs can also tie into a public CDN to make sure that you've got the kind of audience that you want to get to. And then obviously direct to screen, which in essence is live stream. Facebook does it. All those kind of public portals have that capabilities. There's also very, very cost-effective solutions out there that can allow an organization, whether it's education or whoever, to be able to live stream to a large audience, to a focused audience, be able to control access to that as well. Technology is solid. The conduit, the transmission path for that is pretty solid as well, in the sense of As long as you got a pretty decent pipe, you can get anything you need to out there. You know, we partner with some particular vendors that have technology solely for that purpose. Out on a live event, they're streaming using cellular towers. You know, News is doing that as well. You need that content, it needs to go back. Wi-Fi is not an option. So it's not just a matter of using a hotspot on your phone. You're going to be sending back large amounts of data. You may need to aggregate that bandwidth to get that data up more effectively in the kind of resolution and quality that you're looking for. I'm not going to read the quote. Hope everybody can see it clear. But, you know, sorry to be the bearer of bad news for broadcast, but cable is challenged right now. I'm not putting this quote up here just to kind of poke everybody in the eye, but it's the reality that the audience's needs and interests are changing. That doesn't mean that traditional cable or OTA is completely going away. There's always going to be a need for that type of content, but more importantly, how do you blend that for your audience to make sure that you're hitting the traditional audience as well as the new audience that maybe doesn't go the old way. You know, they're not. I have two daughters in their 20s. They don't even have cable. Not my choice, that's their choice. So how do you reach that audience? You have to do it through a new way, a new mechanism to connect with them. So the extension of that, of course, is where are these other eyeballs hitting that content? Obviously, mobile devices are a huge part of that play right now. Everybody has it. You see them in the room already. Right? We all use them for whatever purposes. I happen to travel a lot, so between my phone, my tablet, my laptop, that's how I'm getting my content. Not to say that when I'm in a hotel room or something, I don't put on cable, but not all the time. Again, desktop viewing and the IoT, Internet of Things. As we're seeing more and more of this kind of connectivity of different devices, even cars now have screens in them. Now they're not broadcasting the content out, but how far is that down the road? Before something like that starts to happen. Obviously not while people are driving, but I can perceive that when someone's driving and they stop, maybe they have some content that's local that comes up. Who knows? Obviously there's also, optical tools out there now that people may start using, AR, etc. Again, you can see where these discussions can really start to open up different opportunities and a lot of other questions on how you're getting to this audience. So, working backwards, you have to know where you want to go before you figure out how to get to that point. Okay, any questions so far? Am I putting anybody to sleep? Okay, next. So now we got to work the next step back. We're going to start creating the content here. This is the creation part of the workflow. So the content's been delivered, but how did it get created to be effectively delivered to that endpoint? The 3 T's, transcode, transfer, and track. I cannot tell you how many times we sit down with people and we ask them what is your deliverable? Which deliverable is the question they come back with. Okay, how many deliverables do you have? Well, are they all the same? Are you sending the same file? Oh, no. Everything's good. This one's got to have this, and this one's got to have that, and everything's got to be different. So that's all transcoding, and more importantly, is that a manual transcode? Is that someone literally taking that file, configuring those settings, and hitting transcode, and then delivering that? Or are we leveraging automation? We literally sat down with a customer last week, and we talked about that exact same thing. The director of the department had no idea of how much time they were spending to do that one step, transcode. I said, well, where's your editor? Brought somebody in, How long are you spending on that? About 3 hours a day. What? How much time is that? Over a week, over a month, over a year? How many dollars is that? On a week, a month, a year? Let's look at automating that. Now automating, of course, does two things. It frees that person up, that human resource, to do something else, preferably more creative. It also removes the human error. And then the next step, of course, is automating the transfer process. All right, I've got eight different versions of this thing. This one needs to go to this FTP site. This needs to go to Dropbox. This needs to go here. This needs to go here. Let's automate all that. So that once it's transcoded, and there's a layer of QC in there to make sure that the transcoding was done properly, get a report back that says, check, 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 check. Just transfer it. Send it where it needs to go. And then tracking it, not only to make sure it got there, but to have that report to be able to go back and say, yeah, it shows the file was successfully transferred to your destination at this date on this time, and you should have it. So again, we had another customer that was sending content. In their case, it was captioning. They were sending content out of house. Captioning company was taking care of their captioning for them, the manual. It would come back. They would have to QC it. Inevitably, they would find errors. Guess what? Back over. Gets corrected. Comes back. It's streamlined that whole process. Automated, have automated QC, have full reporting, be able to track everything. Everything's visible, no questions asked. You know that everything's worked the way it's supposed to work. Dynamic workflows. So this is, if you were just talking about the evolution of the industry, going back from the analog days and the transition to not only HD, but also file-based digital workflows. From that moment forward, every single workflow has become a dynamic workflow. Nothing stands still. Right? New technologies come out. New distribution points become available. Different mechanisms need to be leveraged to get that content where it needs to be. And that all trickles down and ripples through the entire process. So knowing that the workflow that people are using today will absolutely change tomorrow. Quote unquote tomorrow, not literally Thursday to Friday. But just letting people know what you're doing today is working great, but you need to understand that your workflow is going to need to grow and evolve with the times. And don't be afraid of it. Embrace it. Embrace that and know that it's going to happen. And plan for it. Because if you plan for it, it's not a surprise. Or if it is, you at least have a framework to be able to deal with that particular instance that maybe is an anomaly or some kind of exception to the norm. You can deal with it because the other 80% of what you're doing is following the standard procedures. And if you have to make adjustments, you can make adjustments, and you can start to plan ahead for what those nice evolutionary steps in the workflow might be. Bringing it home, or even starting in the field and bringing it home. Kind of the two sides of the same equation, right? So there's a lot of customers that are sitting there saying, we need to get our editorial process started immediately, as soon as that content comes off the cart. Great. There's technology for that. There's all sorts of different ways of doing that. Be able to start the editorial process remotely, move that content back to home, whatever that home is, whatever your facility or institution or wherever it needs to land. Get that content where it needs to be, and then obviously be able to collaborate. Working with a customer right now, they're shooting some footage up in Michigan that needs to get to LA. Thoughts? How would you do that? How would you get the content from southeastern Michigan to LA tonight? Content came off the cameras, it's on a hard drive. I don't need it there tomorrow morning. because the editor is working tonight. You need the content there tonight. FedEx, UPS, not going to work. Pardon me?
Go to the cloud and then they can download it.
Okay, that's one way. How about if we just delivered it right to his desktop? So in this case, the customer's bringing their dailies in. We're putting them in, we're connecting that drive to our system in our Detroit office. And we are going to send that content directly to the editor's desktop in LA. Now, the editor's working at night. So at the end of our day, of course, we've got a 3-hour time shift, which works in our favor. So at the end of our day, we're actually sending that content, and it's landing in his desktop as he's working. Like, literally, that folder starts to fill up, and he can start pulling that content. He doesn't have to go to the cloud. There's no steps necessary. It's just there, ready to go. Technology exists. I don't know if you could read this comment, but it just particularly caught my eye as being that hot point that we constantly have to deal with. I'll read it just in case you can't. The committee decided that the file naming convention will start with the date in the order of month, year, and day. Then a space, then the temperature at the airport, and the hat size of the nearest squirrel. To be perfectly honest, it was a long meeting, and we probably didn't do our best work toward the end. So the point of this is data wrangling or managing this data has become an evolutionary process that doesn't work as effectively as it could. And so there's new ways of thinking this through. So I mentioned media asset management a minute ago. We're actually starting to put asset management systems in the field. So when the DIT or whomever is shooting that content in the field takes that camera card and puts that into their laptop, they start applying metadata in the field that's relevant to exactly what needs to be available at that moment. Then the file and the metadata go home and get dropped into the asset management in the facility and gets expanded on. Who should manage it? A question. Who's going to keep track of all this? Something to consider. There's no easy answer to it. You know, that people were talked to and they're like, well, somebody needs to do it. And maybe it's more than one somebody. But there needs to be that discussion of, do we have a formal librarian or asset management person or top level data manager, or is this more spread out, or multiple people tapping into that system? Often we'll talk about, particularly with metadata, like I said, a certain amount of metadata may be applied out in the field. Some other metadata, maybe when it first comes into the facility, or maybe an intern is ingesting that content and putting the top 5 or 6 fields of metadata that are necessary to get that into the system. And then someone with more knowledge and experience and understanding puts the deeper metadata in, and there may even be another step where an archivist or a librarian goes in and says, okay, this is the information I need to be able to find this content and recall it. Or a combination of any of that. But at some point, somebody needs to be that person, or at least help set those standards of what the procedures are going to be. And then data versus data, of course, is just referring to the actual video, audio file, and the metadata. In some cases it's embedded, in some cases it may be a sidecar file, is to keep all of that data straight. Systems out there can do this all day long if they're configured properly. How do you configure it properly? You have to understand the whole workflow. There has to be a plan. You know, sometimes people call and say, well, I just want to buy this thing. Okay, well, what are you going to do with it? I don't know yet. Okay, well, that's probably going to fail. You haven't even thought through how you're going to implement this technology. It's probably not going to go well. So let us help you figure that out. And I'm not trying to pitch services here. I'm just trying to say there needs to be some planning and organization around that to make sure that you're effectively using the tools and finding out the roadmap for the future. Again, I'm not going to read this, but a very important comment specifically around storage. Many times people, somebody just said, I only need 18 terabytes of storage. I'm going to bet you need more than that. You just don't know it yet. This is an evolving, growing, expanding thing, and if you do that with direct attached storage, that's going to get complicated very, very fast. If you start working in a shared storage model, that's going to give you a lot more flexibility as long as that storage system can continue to grow and evolve as well. Make sure you don't run out of space, run out of components, etc. So storage is, from our standpoint, literally the foundation of any common, everyday workflow these days. You're going to be working in rich media, and whether it's one person or 10 people or 100 people, you need to make sure your storage platform is solid. What are we doing on time? Where does it all start? Now we have come back up to the beginning of the line. Right? Now we're at the beginning of the beginning rather than the end. By Microsystems, I'm talking about everything from GoPros to iPhones to lipstick cameras to, all the kind of non-traditional cameras, right? All of that stuff. Let's take a GoPro, right? Oh, it's great. You put on somebody's helmet and they go do what they're doing. It's great. You grab that little card and you drop that stuff and you start working with it. Okay, well, GoPros, and I'm not picking on GoPro. GoPro uses a particular codec for their files, completely different from Sony or Canon right? So if you're going to mix all this stuff together, it's a good plan. It's a good idea to have an understanding of what those codecs are and what kind of content you're working with, so that you can manage that effectively, even to the point of maybe transcoding, house standard. Because you have all these disparate camera systems, and more are coming every week. Who knows what the camera codecs are going to be a year from now? Start throwing those into your mix. How do you keep track of all that? Having a house standard, whatever it might be, like an intermediate codec, particularly in a 4K workflow, is a great idea. People think, it's just more files to deal with. Take your camera originals and you just archive them. It's your future-proofing. If you ever need to, you can go back and get them. Your intermediate becomes your editorial content, particularly if you're going to a social media or other type of cloud-based platform. More than likely, unless you're pushing Netflix, you're going to down-res that anyway, right? So, as beautiful as 4K is, it may not be the right fit for the editorial workflow. You may be better off working in an HD master, since you're going to be going down in resolution anyway. You still have that original 4K, the camera original. You always go back to it when you need it in the future. Drones are kind of the same thing. A little while ago, I would have included drones in the micro camera, but of course now drones are not micro cameras. You put a red on a drone and get it up in the air if you want. So it's really hard to call that a micro camera. But again, that footage is very unique, particularly if there's metadata embedded in that file with geotagging. Right? That may be a very important bit of metadata that you want to make sure you keep track of, not just during the production and post-production process, but when it actually gets delivered somewhere, and then someone comes back and says, hey, I really like that one shot. What city is that anyway? And somebody looks in, I think that's the building of, I don't know. Let's just look at the geotag and see exactly where it was. SD, HDMI, and NDI, and others. So again, baseband video versus IP-based video. They didn't put something 2110 on there, but it belongs on there. I was just talking to one of the other vendors in the show, and they literally have a completely flexible router system that can take in and send out anything you want. And the beauty of that is, for organizations and facilities that aren't ready to go with pure IP-based distribution or transmission, they can start to phase that in over time. You don't have to literally replace every piece and part of equipment in your workflow or in your facility. You can start to phase that in over time. Again, that's forward-thinking, road mapping, planning as best as you can for the future, so you're not in a reactive situation trying to deal with emergencies on top of fixing everything else that's not working well. Now I'm back to the metadata thing again. As I said at the beginning, which was the end, having that metadata in your content will give your audience the ability to find it much, much faster. If you remember that slide that talked about the literal number of seconds that people are watching that content, that's the target, that's the sweet spot. You only have that small little window of time to get their attention. They may have found you through that metadata. Now you got to keep them with the content, right? So the metadata becomes kind of the key to the door to get them in. Then you got to keep them with the actual content. So content matters. Metadata is important, and it's a very important tool in the current day workflow. But content always rules. As I mentioned a minute ago, starting that metadata on-ramp, if you will, out in the field is becoming more and more a standard, if you will. The sooner you can get some of that content in, when it gets handed down throughout the process, the easier it's going to be for even the production or post-production team members to find it, organize, sort it, keep track of it. An example could even be copyright information. You know, we got the rights to shoot this event. No one else did. It's an important bit of metadata to have in there. Now, it could just be a PA's note somewhere on an Excel spreadsheet. That's effective, right? Because the spreadsheet always follows the content. How about if it's an actual metadata field that when that content gets dropped into the asset management system, it's right there. This is copyright, you have to protect it, whatever. It's critical information that needs to be there. And then custom metadata is, as I mentioned a moment ago, I did a system for an organization, and when I first sat down with them, they said, we need all 82 fields of metadata filled out. Every single file that goes into the system. 82 fields of metadata. You really want to sit down and do that? You want to sit down and figure that all out? No. So I said, that's great, guys, but it's never going to be used. So what we did is we broke that down into essentially a tab kind of interface so that there was, again, initial metadata, maybe 5 or 10 fields of information that someone can fill out. Now it's a little more manageable. It's not quite as much of a time-consuming process. Then you take the next 15 and so on and so forth. Just break that down logically so that when someone touches that content, it's their responsibility to make sure that this certain amount of metadata is added to the system, added to that asset within the system. So people think custom metadata is great. I just want to have all the metadata I can think of. Well, it's great. But the reality is it needs to be effectively used or no one will use it. OTA versus streaming or both. A lot of people out there shooting to air, but also streaming at the same time. Again, hitting both audiences, making sure they're not missing any eyeballs. OTA is what it is, and that's of course tying into cable as well. But the streaming part, that's another whole kind of business approach. How do you have your own channel? Are you pushing up to, again, a public CDN? Do you have your own private CDN? What's that look like? How do you figure that all out? Oh, problem. Sorry, thanks for raising your hand. Thanks for the time. And then posting for VOD as well. You know, live events are great, but not everybody can see it at that moment. So, record it, add Second is a VOD. Where does that go? What is the event? What is the content? Again, is this a private event that people have to, register for and log in? Then maybe YouTube or some of those other public CDNs might not be the answer. You may need to protect that a little bit more. So those are considerations you have to think about as you start moving in that direction. More and more we find customers kind of start with a public delivery, YouTube, Facebook, etc., video, whichever platform comes to mind, and then they start to see the effectiveness of that. But they also see the ineffectiveness as far as controlling some of that. And there's ways to do that on the public side. I'm not saying that those tools aren't available, but again, it takes some time to figure that all out and plan it. In some cases, the private CDN is the way to go. Again, I'm not going to read the quote, but you can see the direction where things are going. How many people remember Netflix was delivered video games? Netflix DVD. Where did that go? How many people still watch DVDs? Don't be ashamed. Is it a DVD or Blu-ray?
DVD.
Yeah, but it's still there. I mean, it's not going away. We did a project for a church a while ago, and they insisted they had to deliver a DVD to their members who couldn't come in person. Okay, why don't you just stream it? You give them a VOD for them. Oh, can we do that? Yeah. Well, now you don't have to bring the DVD, you don't have to mail them the DVD, you don't have to have a DVD player, which is getting harder and harder to find, although Blu-ray can of course backward from that, but so there's these different ways of thinking about it. So that's just an interesting little side step. And I think I'm right on time for questions. I know it was quick and fast, but that's how much time we had. Questions? Wow, is that effective?
One question I can have was the codecs. I know that's a big issue with the trains code. Has there been any talk from the manufacturer saying, okay, we're going to standardize and say like these 2 or 3 different codecs? Because you're right, every time you turn around, it seems to be somebody's got something different. You seem to waste a lot of time with transcode and stuff to be able to work with it.
Right. And you'll never get that genie in the bottle. Nothing against manufacturers are doing what they think is best in their business interest and also for the customers, but the reality is they're making those decisions based around their business model and their product line, et cetera. And nothing would make me happier than to have a complete standardized product model. I always joke that, back in the analog days, how many standards did we have? What were they?
Yes.
Exactly. How many resolutions did we have? Kind of 2. Yeah. How many frame rates did we have? How many? We didn't have codecs. Right? So life was a lot simpler back then, but it was also much more limited. Now we've opened the genie bottle, and we have much more flexibility, but at a cost of complexity. That's why we go back and we sit down with even the editorial staff, and we'll say, so what's your timeline look like? Well, I just dropped 7 or 8 different types of files in there, and I hit play and it all works. Great, how's your processor on that computer? Oh, it's maxed out every time. Well, yeah, so how about if we standardize that so that everything you got in the timeline was exactly the same, your processing, your internal system processing comes way down, because now it's a standard, from beginning to end, it's the same Keycode all the way across the timeline, makes it much easier. Finding out what that is requires a little more digging in. Great question. I wish it would. But that's the genie out of the bottle. Anyone else? Was it helpful? Be honest. Again, I could have gone into hours of detail on any one of these points, as I'm sure you're all well aware. it's a challenge to try and compress this down, but that's what we wanted to do, is just to give you an overview of where things are at and kind of the challenges that everyone's facing. Oftentimes we'll sit down with folks and we'll explain what their pain points are and their challenges, and we're like, we're not alone. We hear this every single day, all day, and don't worry. It's an issue that everyone's dealing with.
The biggest questions I always tend to hear people on the engineering side is, there comes something new, it's like, well, how do we monetize it, and how does it move the needle?
Yeah.
That's always the biggest.
Monetization was a bullet point I had in here, and I just knew that would turn into another whole thing. But monetization is a massive thing right now. Customers, as they're growing more and more of this content in their libraries for their own personal needs, are suddenly realizing, we've got some pretty good B-roll here that maybe someone else could use. Or if it's a large enough organization or a national organization, they want to get that content across the country and not duplicate it. Right? You don't want 15 copies of the same thing. Put it in one place and have everybody share off of it. Again, you've got to have a plan to do that. You have to get everybody involved on that. Make sure that the policies and procedures and standards are all in place and everybody's on board with the same set of rules. That certainly can be done. Well, thank you, everyone. Those of you who didn't get a card yet, if you're interested, I got cards up here. I would normally at this point say come and visit us at our booth, but the booths are closed. The exhibit hall's closed. So please feel free to reach out to us if you have any other questions. Thanks, everybody.
We will now take a short break and reconvene for our closing session.